Hey everyone, and welcome to the Ask Nicole weekly live stream. I'm Nicole, and sometimes people ask me stuff, but sadly, sometimes people ask me stuff that I really don't know anything about, which is why I'm glad I have friends like Guillen, who works for CompuSalt, and they do all kinds of stuff. They do point of sales, they do security cameras, they do networking, they do email configuration, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, and they do all kinds of kind of the tech heavy lifting that a lot of small businesses need. David, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, yes. Thanks for having me here.
No, it's awesome. I appreciate it. I've been trying to get David to come on with me here because he knows a ton of stuff about the technology that we're going to be talking about today, which is Dmarc. David, can you tell us a little bit about what Dmarc is? I don't even know what it stands for. I think it's an acronym, though. Pretty sure.
Yeah, it is. And to be honest, I don't even know what it means. Well, I do, but I don't even remember. And nobody needs to know what it is. But I'll tell you exactly what it stands for. It stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance. So basically what Dmarc is an email authentication policy and a reporting protocol. So what does that mean? That means that with Dmarc, when you set up Dmarc, as it says, domain-based on your domain, you're telling the interwebs that you are authenticating your emails. You have set up ways for the interwebs to know that those emails are actually sent by you. And the second part being a reporting protocol, it means that the interwebs will report back to you and let you know if somebody is spoofing your email or if somebody is trying to impersonate your domain or send domains to people pretending to be you.
It's such a bummer because we've all experienced the robocalls where they're spoofing local numbers, and it's so people can actually spoof your email address and kind of pretend they're sending email on your behalf.
Correct. They can do that. So the scary part is when they spoof your actual domain. So, for us, for example, for CompuSalt, somebody could actually send an email from an @compusalt.com email address. So that's when Dmarc becomes so important, because then you can tell the interwebs that who is actually authorized to send emails on your behalf. There's another thing that people can do, which is spoofing the email from. So, they can just change and put my name, even though the email is coming from a completely different email address. And you will see, for example, on Live or on Outlook, you will receive emails saying support@outlook.com. But when you actually open the email, it's not even coming from support. It's coming from a random number at something completely different, but it will still say it came from support@outlook.com. So those are the things how they can spoof emails. But Dmarc will protect your actual domain, your real name.
And is there certain kinds of businesses or certain kinds of people who should, I guess, be more mindful of this? I'm guessing people who maybe receive sensitive emails like lawyers or things like that, or is there certain people that you find that are good candidates for kind of locking down their email in this way using Dmarc?
Yeah, to be honest, I would recommend for everybody who has their own domain to use Dmarc. So if you have your own business, if you own your own domain, and by your own domain I mean www.yourcompany.com or whatever it is. So if you own that, and if you're sending out emails through your domain, it's basically you need to have Dmarc to protect yourself and to protect the integrity of all the messaging that you're saying, all the emails that you're sending.
Yeah, and for those watching, what happened was a few years ago. I think Dave, which is David's coworker, was looking into something for me, and I think you guys found that 150 people a day were spoofing my domain, something like that. It was a lot. It was mostly people outside the United States even. And when you guys locked it down, you were able to, for example, I send invoices with QuickBooks. I'm trying to think of other services that I use. I use MailChimp as my email marketing service currently, that kind of thing. So what you do with your services is you lock it down, but you allow the services that send email on my behalf that are actually legit, like QuickBooks and MailChimp, to be able to send correctly and be delivered to my clients without these other people being able to send stuff. So yeah, it's kind of been a non-issue for me, like I said, since you guys kind of set that up for me. Is there any other benefits that people can get? I mean, obviously, it's so funny when you try to tell people about protecting stuff, they're like if it's kind of like identity theft. Until it happens to you, you're like, oh, that's not going to happen, right? But is there any like benefits that people who you've done this for have received? Like, does their email deliverability improve with email marketing? Are they maybe less likely to end up in the promotions tab of Gmail? Like, are there sort of outcomes that you've seen that that your clients appreciate from using the service?
Yeah, for sure. So going a little bit back on what Dmarc was, you know, the first part we talk about email authentication. So the way that emails get authenticated, it's there's two parts. One is called SPF, which is basically you're telling them these senders are permitted to use your domain. And as you were saying, you know, QuickBooks or MailChimp, if you're sending massive emails or services like that, we will tell the interwebs through your domain that, yes, I usually send emails through these other services. Obviously, you know, if you use Gmail or if you use Yahoo or whatever, that's going to be the first one because that's your mail server. So you're going to tell the system that you're sending emails through Gmail, you're going to send emails through MailChimp, or you're going to send emails through QuickBooks or whatever other service. The other part of that is it's called DKIM, which is basically a domain key generated. So that key will be generated by your mail server or by any of your services. Some of the services use it, some of the services don't use it. But for example, in Gmail, you create, there is this long string of random symbols, numbers, letters, and that's kind of like an electronic signature. So every email that you generate will start with that signature and will end with that signature. So when the receiver gets that email, they're going to check for two things, and that's part of Dmarc. They're going to check the SPF. So it's going to go through the list and say, like, oh, this email came from Gmail. Let me check the SPF. Oh, yes, this email is authorized to go through Gmail. So check. Okay, that verification passed. The next one will be this long key, which is a super secure key. So basically, it will compare. It's like, okay, this service is telling us that we're supposed to have this key. We'll check. Okay, they match, pass. So as long as you pass those two, Dmarc is 100% proven, and the messages will go straight to the inbox. There, when you set up Dmarc, there's a policy where you can say, if none of these pass, send it straight to quarantine or just reject the email for sure, because you cannot verify that I actually sent that email. So that is really important, because as you were saying, when messages end up in either in the spam folder or the junk folder or promotions or whatever, it's because one of those. If your message passed one of the two, either SPF or DKIM, the system will decide, well, okay, it came through the right server, but we need to check the key. And sometimes when you set up Dmarc, you can set up the level of how strict you want it to be. So you can say like, okay, that can pass and it will go to the inbox, or you can say, no, just quarantine it instead of rejecting it completely. So it will go still to the spam folder, but you know, that's on the receiver's end to analyze if the message passed. So a good way to stay out of the promotions tab or you know, out of spam folders is to make sure that, yes, one, you have Dmarc, and other things that different servers analyze is like the wording that you use on your email. You know, so if you use phrases like, hey, you know what you need, or things like that, things that are really common on spam messages, then they're gonna flag you. Then, like you are gonna reduce the possibility of you ending up on a spam or on promotions. So that's part of that. But again, as Dmarc it's kind of like the first layer of verification. If you pass those two or one of those, your chances are higher to go straight to inbox instead of to the spam folder.
That's awesome, because there is this woman, I've been getting these Facebook ads for like 2 years, stay out of the Gmail promotions tab, buy my program, and her program costs thousands of dollars. So there you go, guys. You just got thousands of dollars worth of advice. Just kidding. I mean, there's more we can talk about maybe with the promotions tab, but the fact that this will help is probably, and the fact that also that this might be a completely invisible problem to most people might be enough for them to be interested in looking into this. So speaking of that, is there a way that I could know as just a normal person that my email is being, I don't know, impersonated by other people? Is there a way that I can see if this is a problem for myself?
Yeah, one thing that you can do, and when we set up Dmarc for our clients, what we do is we register on a service. There is this website called Dmarcian, or this company. And basically what they do is when you set up your Dmarc, you get this service to do the monitoring or checking all the what is happening, all the reporting from Dmarc. So that's when you were saying that, yeah, there was a lot of companies spoofing your email address. That's how we analyze that. Once you set up Dmarc, you will see like, okay, all your messages during this period of time, you send these messages. And this percentage of messages passed Dmarc. And then after a while, you're going to start seeing like, oh, there were a couple of messages that didn't pass. And you will see like, oh, this message was sent from China, or, from different places, from Japan, the UK. And you'll see the IP addresses of in what failed. So some of them are going to say like, oh, yeah, they use a Google server, because they use a Gmail account, still going through the Google server, but it didn't have your two important parts, the SPF or the DKIM. So, that's how the reporting, it's so helpful, because you're gonna get all that feedback. And then through Dmarcian, you can also check if your domain has already Dmarc or not, or if your domain has already SPF and you're just missing DKIM, or if you have DKIM but you don't have SPF. So you can have one of them, two of them, but not necessarily have Dmarc already, because you have to set up Dmarc separately.
Okay, so you might have parts of this with your existing web hosting package, but they sort of need, it sounds like, to be connected together for this this service to really work.
Correct.
Am I understanding? Okay.
Correct. Yep.
I know when I looked at it, I was like, I don't know if I can, if I don't know if I want to set this up myself. I'm not sure if I could set this up myself. So how do you work with businesses on setting up something like this?
For sure. We definitely are open to consultations with people. We will talk to them and work together, talk about their needs, and based on their needs, we'll set up the different processes. Maybe you need Dmarc and you want Dmarc, but you don't need the reporting part of it. So, like we can set it up on a trial version for 15 days, and then just forget about the reporting. But then Dmarc is already set up for you, and that's going to be set up for you for life. Basically, we just need access to the domain, or, we'll walk you through how to do it. Access to the domain and knowing your email service, and we'll set it up. Let's make your emails secure, for your sake and also your customer's sake.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, David. I'll include CompuSolid's contact information in the show notes here. And if you like this content, I just want to point you to our YouTube playlists. This is going to go in our website's playlist and with additional information. And if you like this sort of content, please leave a comment and let me know, because I'm trying to get David to maybe come on for a semi-regular segment. So thanks so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week.